Hey everybody, so I just wanted to jump on here and leave my review for Darren Aronofsky's The Whale. This is the latest drama directed by him, written by Samuel D. Hunter, based on a play of the same name. And this stars Brendan Fraser, Chau, Sadie Sink, Simpkins, and Samantha Morton. And I gotta tell you right off the bat, I thought the acting throughout was incredible. Most notably anyway, Brendan Fraser, who, if you haven't already been watching or following just the story behind this movie, this is like the best performance of his career, and I can testify to that because I think this is probably the most personal, most emotional, there is so much that he gives in this role. It is just mind-blowing. I do think everyone else in the movie as well brings their A game. I think the supporting cast here really just deliver on the same level that he does. But because this movie focuses solely on his character and what he's going through, I do think he is the standout here. But I don't want to discredit all the wonderful performances that also factor in. Now, in case you're not familiar, The Whale is a story about a recluse English teacher who is played by Fraser. And this all is kind of set in the time span of 1 week. We kind of see what Charlie, played by Fraser's character, is going through health-wise, weight-wise. He is morbidly obese. We can kind of tell right from the beginning that he doesn't seem to have much time left to live, given the fact that he's in such a really scary and urgent condition that he is not really paying attention to. He has no interest to go and get it checked out. All he really wants at this stage in his life is to reconnect with his estranged daughter, who he hasn't really seen since she was 8 years old. In this movie, she is 17, so we kind of see it from that angle that he has been absent from her life for about 9 years. And in the midst of trying to still teach and work and also survive for whatever time he has left, he is trying to make amends with his daughter. And we kind of see that just over the course of 5 days, which are really quick, but are also really meaningful. I thought this movie had a lot of wonderful, poignant moments that are really special. I also thought the film, in that same breath, had a lot of moments that were unnecessary and things that I didn't really agree with, or characters that kind of come into the mix for random reasons, which are not really explained fully why they're there. They just kind of happen to show up. I understand maybe for a fragment of why certain characters need to be in place, but overall, I didn't necessarily think a character in specifics. The character played by Simpkins, he plays a missionary who's there kind of doing church work and trying to, inspire and guide Brendan Fraser to find God and find inspiration in his life before he dies. That was an interesting point of view, but I didn't really necessarily feel as if it was all that, relevant. I didn't think that this was a character that needed to be there in particular, which I won't give too much away, but we do learn about the missionaries, backstory, and we kind of learn a little bit about him. And I didn't really feel like it was all that, required. But that's just me. I would love to know what anyone else thought if they have seen the movie and what they thought about that character in particular. The more interesting part of the story that I wanted to follow the most is the relationship between he and his daughter. And there is a mention of, Brendan Fraser's past, a loved one in his life that had unfortunately passed away, kind of leading to the reason of why he gained so much weight. I would have loved to have explored that a little bit further. While I do understand that some movies don't have to feed us every bit of information, we can kind of interpret things for our own, doing. I am the kind of person that likes a little bit more information, not just too much ambiguity. So I would have liked a little bit more background into like what that character meant to him, what it really was, and things like that. I also think the movie could have benefited from a little bit more of like a flashback sequence. We do get little snippets, but not enough for my taste. That's just me though, my personal preference. But again, overall, I do think that the acting in this movie kind of gives you a reason to watch. I am going to recommend this movie on that very mild recommendation that the acting in it is pretty incredible. Again, it will feel like you're watching a stage play, which makes sense because it was based on a play. And I do think there are a lot of likable and notable qualities throughout this entire production. Darren Aronofsky is a director that I've often struggled with in the sense that sometimes I can't sit through his movies without feeling queasy, feeling a little bit disturbed, which I don't know if he does that intentionally. For example, Requiem for a Dream, the arm, the needle. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. It was very hard to sit through. The Wrestler, when they're fighting and they're stapling each other. There's just so many different moments throughout all of his movies that just leave this impression on me that I'm I don't know what to do with it. And now with this one, there are moments also, of course, which I won't really explain right now, but they are kind of triggering for someone who also dealt with a lot of, food intake, somebody who is an overeater, and we kind of get like graphic moments of overeating throughout this movie, which are very uncomfortable to sit through. It's very personal, it's very sad, it's very emotional, but for me in particular, again, it was a little bit challenging to watch. So overall, do I think this is a movie that you should check out? Sure. Yes, I do. I do think there are elements of this movie, like I said, that are very noteworthy and something that you should watch. I think the drama behind it is great. I did get emotional by the end when there's certain scenes and certain characters coming together that did make me tear up. I didn't cry, but I definitely felt the strong emotions that were sitting right there and were reserved, like, oh God, what's going to happen next? But overall, I don't think the movie is a complete win. I do think the movie is worth checking out, but there are things about it that I would have switched or would have liked to have seen maybe altered or done a little differently, but that's just me. Again, if you have seen the movie, I'd like to know your take on it and what your opinions were. Please drop a comment down below if you have watched and what your thoughts were. And if you haven't seen it, I do again recommend that you maybe at least check it out. It's not a movie that I think is going to go down in history as a classic, but for Brendan Fraser, this is a great performance and again, the best of his career. And those are solely the reasons why I think you should watch the movie as a whole. So yeah, let me know what you think if you have seen it.